Providing financial services for women is challenging enough, but when you're looking to provide financial services for impoverished women in undeveloped countries, the challenges can be overwhelming. Mariama Ashcroft does just that. She's the Relationship Development Manager for Women's World Banking, and she is here in Barcelona at the Doing Good, Doing Well conference at ESE Business School. Mariama, thank you very much for being with us on INSEAD Knowledge.
My pleasure.
Women's World Banking isn't actually a bank.
No, it's not a bank. We promote banking for poor people, especially women.
You kind of help initiate them into the financial system.
We work with 28, 29 institutions in 40 countries around the world, and these are mostly in Asia, in Africa, and Africa also including North Africa and the Middle East. They're also in Latin America, and they're in Eastern Europe, in Russia and in Bosnia.
You're based in Africa?
No, actually, all the staff of Women's World Banking are based in New York, but then all our work is out in the field in those countries where we have partners. When we need to work with our network members, in most cases we travel to where they are located so that we work with the staff, we work with the board. We even, in many cases, we also work with the legislators, because many of these countries do not already have the legal framework that allows or that is friendly to microfinance.
Where do you find your clients? How do they find out about you?
Sometimes we identify countries where we want to work for certain reasons. Maybe the demand for financial services is very high. Maybe the level of poverty is very high. And we decide that we want to work in this country so that we can make a difference in reducing poverty. And then we go into that country, we do research, we visit the country to find out what opportunities exist. Maybe there are institutions already doing some work and they only need support in order to scale up. And then we work with these institutions and start partnerships. There are other cases where the institutions find us. We are on the web, we are everywhere, and they find us, they contact us to express their interest in working with us.
Where did all of this start? You're a Gambian national. Did it start there?
No. Women's World Banking, the idea for Women's World Banking was started in 1979 at a global conference for women held in Mexico City. And at that time, professional women that were at that conference decided that it was time that the challenges of women were addressed, especially related to access to financial services. Subsequently, of course, other institutions have come into the network that were not part of the initial movement. So most of the partners that we work with do not actually work with the poorest of the poor, because we believe that it's very difficult to work with them, because first of all, you need to get them to be familiar with financial transactions, which in many countries where we work, that is not the case.
Can you give me an example of some of the projects that you've helped find funding for?
Our thrust is actually on capacity building, institutional capacity building. I'll give an example of one institution in Uganda that's called Finance Trust. We have been working with this institution right from the beginning. Help them to set up the institutional framework, train their staff. They started off as a non-government organization, a not-for-profit, and we worked with them to train their staff, to train their board. And then in 2003, the Central Bank of Uganda developed a law requiring all microfinance institutions that are collecting deposits to become regulated and change their ownership structure from a not-for-profit to an institution that's actually taking equity. So we worked with them through that process. That was very challenging because, first of all, we had to help them find the right investors that will not take them away from their original mission. Because one thing we have found over the years is that some investors, because we have been able to prove that microfinance is a profitable business, some investors come in with unrealistic expectations of high returns. So it's important for these institutions to find the right investors that would not put too much pressure on them to move away from their original mission of serving the poor. So in 2005, they got their license approved by the Bank of Uganda, and they have 2 international investors that we help them to, bring the relationship. This is a company called I&P that is based in France. It's a social investor. And Credit that is in the Netherlands, also very well known for its interest in helping low-income people. And now Finance Trust is one of the strongest institutions in Uganda.
Where do you see all this going in the next 3 to 5 years? And part of the reason I'm asking is because the current financial situation is putting a lot of attention on microfinancing.
Research is suggesting that microfinance institutions have been able to weather the storm better than traditional commercial banks. Of course, they have been hit hard. Microfinance institutions have been hit hard because the low-income people that they serve have been affected by the rising fuel prices, rising food prices. One good thing that has come out of it, as you have said, is that investors see this as an opportunity. So funding, capital for microfinance institutions has not actually reduced, rather it is increasing. And I think this conference is an indication of that. There are many angel investors here that are interested in new opportunities to invest, and they are looking at microfinance as one of those possibilities. So we see the next 3 years as being an opportunity for institutions to revisit their strategies. Some investors have come in with the expectation of getting 20%, 40% return on their investment. It's not realistic, and I think everybody knows that now. So this is really a good opportunity, not only for the formal banking sector, but for the microfinance sector also.
Thank you very much, Mariama Ashcroft, for being with us on INSEAD Knowledge.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.